YouTube channel of Life and More. Today we have with us noted Bharatanatyam exponent Mohanapriyan Thavarajah. All set for his upcoming performance at India Habitat Center titled Parama Padam. He has very kindly taken some time out from his schedule to talk to us. So thank you and welcome, Mr. Thavarajah.
It's my pleasure being here with you to have a conversation.
Yeah, thank you. So, tell us a little about the upcoming performance, Parama Padam.
Parama Padam is going to be performed at the Stein Auditorium at India Habitat Center in Delhi. Parama Padam
Yeah.
basically a thematic Bharatanatyam performance, and I conceptualize this 60-minute solo act. So this is a soul's journey of finding the truth of life. I
Mm,
always wanted to do thematic shows on
mm,
the indoor game concepts. I was very much intrigued by how the chess is played, and it was very fascinating how the chessboard has so many characters that makes moves, right? While I was reading about this indoor game, I stumbled upon on Padam, which is very well known to all of us, and many generations of our people played when we were young. Consequently, I saw this Padam, the snakes and board game, beautifully
mhm.
illustrated at a temple, and it was like hung inside the centrum of Centaurum. Um, and that
Which temple was that, if I may ask?
it's,
Which
it's
temple
South,
was that?
South India in Sri Rangam, in Trichy.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, it's
okay,
a Vishnu temple, and
okay.
it was intriguing how this board game to do with temple.
Mm,
And then I went to read about
mm,
it, and I found fascinating stuff how our forefathers have created a very beautiful gamification medium to teach moral values, using our rich legacy of culture. Yeah,
mm,
so the in this game, I'm sure everybody will know, there's a dice. You have to throw the dice to begin with, and there are
mm,
snakes which indicates the vices in life, and the ladders that will take you up in the life when you do good deeds. and
mm,
and if you continue to be devoured by the snake, and you got to come back to zero and start your journey all over again. So
mm,
I thought it's very fascinating concept to explore for a Bharatanatyam thematic performance, because
mhm,
it's talks about not a tale, or it doesn't talk about the history, but it's talk about a real human choices that we make in life.
mm,
So
mm,
this show is also catered to kids and also adults and art lovers. Yeah.
mm. So, how much time did you take to prepare this thing? The entire sequence of 1 hour. 1 hour is quite a long time.
Yes. So normally in Bharatanatyam recitals are like 90 minutes. I wanted to keep it
Mhm,
60 minutes because it's a
mhm,
non-stop act. I will not leave the
mhm,
stage within that 1 hour, because
mhm,
it's like playing the game, right? Once the dice is on the board, and you off from the game when it's done. So like that, I
mm,
envision the show also to be 60 minutes, also to keep the message precise, so that the audience get what I try to, or what I intend to
mm,
um, pass the message through my dance. Yeah, I mean, it took like
mhm.
a year for me to work on this show, because I
Okay.
mean, I had some amazing stalwarts who worked on this production. Dr. Rajkumar Bharati, the
Okay.
great grandson of Subramania Bharati, um, he has composed the music, and he has wrote the lyrics. And we
Okay.
have Priyadarshini Govind from Chennai,
Mhm,
Bharatanatyam exponent. She had mentored on the choreography, and we had dramaturg from Melbourne, Lim Haunian, who worked on the dramaturgy for this show. Gyan
Mhm.
Dev Singh, our own light designer from Chandigarh, he has worked on the lighting design. So it's a culmination
Mhm.
of many um, talent and many ideas coming together.
Okay. Okay. So you are from Sri Lanka and currently you're living in Singapore. So,
Yes,
and you're talking about Indian culture. That's
yeah.
quite intriguing. What explains your interest in Indian culture and religion?
And in Sri Lanka, we in our school curriculum, language,
Mhm.
religion, and performing
Mhm.
arts are compulsory subjects. So from grade
Okay.
1 till grade 10, it's until
Mhm.
grade 11, O level we call it. So
Mhm.
and then we learned religion and respectively each um, I mean, Hindus will learn Hinduism, Christians will learn Christianity, and Buddhists were they will
Okay.
learn Buddhism. Yeah. So
Mhm.
through the learning of religion, I developed lots of love towards culture and arts, and because
Mhm.
we also learn performing arts in school as one of the curriculum.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
fascinated me because art and culture is it's not bring my identity, but it's part and parcel of our lives in Sri Lanka. So that
Mhm.
led me to go
Mhm.
deeper into it because um, the environment that I grew up with and my parents who always wanted to initiate because normally the young boys are initiated to sports activities, but I mean they recognize that I have a special interest for arts and culture.
Mhm.
So they
Mhm.
brought me up with the exposure that I could gain from all these different avenues of art, culture, religion. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So when was it that you realized that you wanted to pursue Bharatanatyam as your only vocation? Initially, I'm
People would
sure
say,
it must be a passion that were working towards, but then
yeah,
to turn it into a professional thing.
yes. So I was studied in a boys' school in Sri
Mm.
Lanka. I come from this very beautiful coastal town called Batticaloa. So there's a boys'
Mm.
school which is very famous for its basketball and also, of course, for its academic accolades also. St. Michael's College.
Mm.
But I was the only boy in that entire school who was showing keenness in arts. So they tried to encourage me from my principal to teachers, and even they decided that I should seriously think about taking up arts as a career in my future. But then
Mm.
very unlikely I was not very uh, I never had a warm reception that for my inspiration because I wanted to be a dancer. But obviously, there's a lot of
Mm.
questions being raised. Being a male yourself, how can you make a living out of art and dance, right? So,
That too,
so
classical dance.
yeah, it's a very
Mm.
typical notion in the society,
Yeah.
like a male dancer.
Mm.
I mean, you can have a extracurricular activity as a dance or music, but then when it comes to your rice bowl, and that is something that it should be something very serious and serious lines.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
then, like according to my parents' wish, I pursued my
Mhm.
biology. My parents
Mhm.
want me to become a doctor. So, like
Okay.
half a year I was in the class not interested at all in what I was like
Mhm.
learning in the class and always look out of the window. So one day my biological teacher she
Mhm.
asked me, why are you always looking at the window, because the session is going on here. Then I
Mhm.
stood up straight and I said, I'm not interested. So, I mean, I don't know how much courage I had, because it's too much in my mind that I was studying something
Mhm.
that I was not very passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they had a call with my parents, and then the school also encouraged my parents to actually allow me in
Mm-hmm.
the path that I wanted to walk on. So finally,
Okay.
I went to Trichy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a college called Kalikavari College of Fine Art. Then it was affiliated with Bharatanatyam University. So I
Okay.
joined there. I did my bachelor's, master's in
Mm-hmm.
Bharatanatyam. I completed in
Mm-hmm.
2012, and then I came to
Mm-hmm.
Singapore in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since 2012,
Okay.
I've been with Apsara's
Mm-hmm.
Arts, and following my
Yeah.
academic studies in dance as well.
Okay. So your parents are happy now? They got
They are
convinced when
very
your teacher
happy.
convinced them?
The poor thing is, I mean, they never had any individuals who's marking the name in the society in back in Sri
Mm-hmm.
Lanka. But now people are very liberal. Now I see a lot of youngsters are like coming up, and they're living their passion. I see lyricists,
Mm-hmm.
I see music composer, I see dancers. I mean, the art scene is like picking up. The very uh, very the notion of being become a doctor, become an engineer is now it's not anymore by the pressure of the parents. But I see like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
youngsters are now taking up different streams. Yeah, my parents are like
Mm-hmm.
very happy, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to achieve what I wanted to achieve in through dance. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they are quite happy now. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you also learned Kuchipudi, right?
Yes, because I
So
went from
then,
Sri Lanka,
go ahead,
and
go ahead.
I did my integrated bachelor's degree, which is
Mm-hmm.
5 years course. So for me, that going away from Sri Lanka to India is a big thing, because we were brought up during the civil war, and I mean, I mean, in my childhood, I never used to have those happy times like playing around with my friends and going out, because the atmosphere has always been tensed one. Um, like
Mm-hmm.
6 p.m. reaches, and then my mother would like look out for me, uh, waiting at the
Mm-hmm.
gate. Yeah, so if I'm delayed, then she get really panicked about it. So that kind of environment that that I grew up, in a very closed and boxed environment. When I went to India, it was a different world that opened up to me, and in that 5 years, because initially I wanted to study bachelor's, and then only I discovered masters and other academic pursuits. But in that given
Mm-hmm.
5 years, I wanted to study whatever that I could. So I learned Mohanapriyan, I learned Kuchipudi, while I was doing my full-time course in Trichy. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I
Okay.
initiated to art
Pulled
and
you?
dance.
Okay. So what pulled you towards Bharatanatyam? What is so special in Bharatanatyam?
So, special in Bharatanatyam was, the more deeper you go with one art form, and it reveals you lots of avenues for you to work on, because eventually your base is Bharatanatyam, right? But I loved Kuchipudi and Mohiniyattam, for the style as it is, and I wanted to try learning different vocabularies, because I was also fascinated by choreography. I used to be choreographing a lot of dance composition while I was a student in college. So I mean,
Okay.
learning different art form helped me to understand my base better, because I was more rooted to Bharatanatyam while I was learning Kuchipudi and Mohiniyattam, because I see the differences. Sometimes I see the togetherness. Um, and today, the most popular art form in South Indian classical dance form is Bharatanatyam, I would call. If you go to the
Yeah.
mountains in Switzerland, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a
Mm.
dance teacher teaching Bharatanatyam, because it has spread all over the world. And
Okay.
yeah, because of its vicinity, and it I mean, it does, though it comes from Tamil Nadu, Bharatanatyam can be performed in Tamil, Bharatanatyam can be performed in Telugu, Hindi, Marathi. So there's no language barrier. And like Parama
mm,
Padam today, I mean, it doesn't have to be a
mm,
secular religious theme. You can explore things that express social causes and some messages that you wanted to communicate with the audience. So Bharatanatyam has
mm,
grown from its pedagogy. Now it almost become a powerful tool to even touch
mm,
and change people's mind. And I see Bharatanatyam like that today. Uh, Taking
mm.
out those beautiful elements, the appearance. It's of course it's always sacred, but then that form has evolved so much over the centuries and over the generations. Now, it is a medium. It is a medium.
Mm. Yeah, Bharatanatyam performances always have a story, There's a storytelling in that.
Yes.
And sometimes it is a bhakti story, sometimes it's a Shringar story, sometimes it's a social message, sometimes it's a spiritual message like you were giving in Paramapadam. What is it that you like doing most? It's bhakti, Shringar, life messages, social messages.
So today in the world, I mean, we all are marching forward in the modern society, right? Everything is changing. I mean, today we have to um, kind of heavily convince our younger generations to follow certain um, tradition that we all we've been passing through our generations. But again, the art form has also in a question mark how this art form is perceived now these days within the current younger
Mm,
audiences, because there are so many things out there. and
mm,
and Bharatanatyam, I think classical forms in specific has very very close views. And because of its
mm,
secular theme, and not many people, not larger number couldn't appreciate it because of its secularity. Like it's always like stamped, it's a religious, it's sacred. It's not like, it's not very entertaining, right? So for me, I wanted to break that barrier. I mean, within the current
mm,
generation. um,
mhm,
Even like if you're not an Indian, and if you're coming from a different geographical background, and you see the message and you see the vocabulary,
mm,
and I want the audience to feel, oh, there's something impacted me, and there's something I'm taking back
mm,
home. There's something that
mm,
moved me. That's something that I was very immersed within my emotions. So I want to see that
mm,
going forward with,
mm,
especially with the current generation, younger generations. So that's why though I'm performing my traditional margam, Bharatanatyam
mm,
recitals, I also very fascinated about creating these thematic shows, which actually brings awareness
mm,
to a
mm.
lot of
It's
people.
it's basically human interest angle you put into rather than closet it in a religion or any other form,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
you need to cater to the audience. You can't force someone. Some people, I mean, if you're going to perform for uninitiated audience who's not who has
Mm,
very less exposure on Indian classical dance, and somehow, I mean, you are
mm,
forced. I mean, it's very important
mm,
that your performance should have, I mean, should have some relevance, and it should somehow resonate. It's like
mm,
convincing, right? The convincing should
mm,
not come
mm,
by force, but it should
mm,
come by the music choices that you create, the visual that you created on stage. And it can't be
mm,
always from the artist's perspective. And also, when artists create an art, and it should also have the perspective of the perceivance of audience, how they perceive it, and how,
audience, right?
how they take
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so
Mm.
these
So,
themes are very important.
mm. So you must have performed all across various countries across the world.
Yes.
Where do you find the most receptive audience?
I see the most receptive and amazing audience in France. And I've
Okay.
been going to France every year, and some
Mhm.
theaters will have only 70 seater, and some theaters will have 200,
Mhm.
some theaters will have 700 seater. I mean, it's always
Mhm.
full, and I used to wonder why are they so crazy about Indian classical
Mhm.
dance, and the audience
Mhm.
would come back and tell me, "Oh, lucky you didn't
Mhm.
perform Bollywood," and they know
Okay.
they differentiate between the traditional art form and Bollywood, and
Mhm.
I feel,
Mhm.
I mean, they also brought up in the culture of appreciating the arts. They're very proud
Mhm.
about their nation. They're proud about their language, and proud about their art. Um, so, I mean, I have French people coming and telling me, "Oh, you did the story of Shiva," and they can even point out certain saints, Shaiva saints that I bring in my dance. So to
So
that
that's how
level,
engrossed they are in the.
yes, they're not just traveling, they're not just wondering about the
Mhm.
architecture in India, but they are really learners.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
French discovered Angkor Wat, the
Mhm.
largest Hindu uh,
Mhm.
monument in the world, Angkor Wat temple. I also did research and
Mhm.
recently released a
I'll
book.
come to that. You did a book, huh? I'll come to that.
So
But
France
I'll
is
come
the
again to the audience. Okay. I'll come
so
back to
far.
the audiences again. In India, where all have you performed, and which city or state gives you most happiness?
I mean, in India, recently we performed in Bangalore, and again I performed Parama Padam.
Mhm.
There were people from uh, I mean, there are different art community. There were people who came from the tech community, and they said, "Oh, I'm an engineer. I'm a researcher, but somehow I was intrigued by this concept, and I wanted to come and see this." And you made me really fall in love in Bharatanatyam. So I mean,
Okay.
that is my vision, taking forward and
Mhm.
being a Bharatanatyam dancer, and to my that is my
Mhm.
voice with Bharatanatyam, right?
Mhm.
And bringing in new
Yeah.
audience and make sure that they don't see the part as only illuminates the dancer, but there's something illuminate their mind as well. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Bangalore is a very emerging. There are a lot of audience are emerging, but Chennai is it's a city where, I mean, it's always flooded with arts and performances and
Mhm.
concerts. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's a typical welcoming response that you get, and most audiences are like, it's a typical audience that you get, art lovers.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
but in Bangalore and Mumbai, I see a lot of emerging audiences who are, I
Mhm.
mean, exploring themselves to many kind of art and culture events. Yeah.
And that's what interests you most, getting newer
Yes.
people, not just art
Yes.
lovers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do
In
you perform
general,
in your home country as well?
I do very often,
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
always feel that I couldn't serve much, because I wanted to become a
Mhm.
performer. And once when
Mhm.
I completed my degree masters in the university, I was offered a lecturer post in the art university, because there are three,
Mhm.
four universities in Sri Lanka where they offer Bharatanatyam degrees. So I was
Okay.
appointed as a lecturer, dance lecturer in one of the university there. But I didn't want to teach, because I felt that the 7 years of immersing is not enough, and probably I make a mark being a performer. I think teaching part, I think you can do it even later in
Can
the
wait.
life.
Yeah.
And I over the time
Yeah.
I realized how teaching is very crucial. I mean, when it comes to art and culture, because You need to
Mhm.
be up to date, and you can't just repeat your textbook, and you need to tell the experience. You need to really convince the art student. So I
Mhm.
think for that, I think I
Mhm.
need to gain experiences in my life. So yeah, so
Mhm.
it's too early for me to teach a student, but I do teach here. But whenever I travel
Mhm.
to Sri Lanka, I used to visit all these universities. I perform, I conduct workshops. So
Mhm.
in a way that
Mhm.
transmitting passion, inspiration happens that way with
Mhm.
exchanging.
Okay. Okay. So now we come to your book, The Temple Dancers of Temple Dance of
Temple Dance
Apsaras.
concept, yes,
Huh. It was released in 2021.
yeah.
Huh. What motivated you to write that book?
So after my masters, I was doing my MPhil degree.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
obviously in MPhil you have to come up with a dissertation. You have to do a research and you have to come
Mhm.
up with a thesis.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
in 2013, we did a production in Apsara Azad's. We did a production on how this Angkor Wat was built. So for that, we had to travel
Okay.
to Cambodia. So we
Mhm.
visited almost all the temples in Siam Reap. Um,
Mhm.
this particular temple actually fascinated me, and it still I wanted to go back to that
Mhm.
place because of the
Okay.
sculptures, the way it has been carved. Even our Indian mythology has carved so lively there. And if you see a Ravana lifting a mountain,
Mhm.
I mean, Ravana has 10 heads, then he should have 20 hands, right? I mean, to logically.
Mhm.
But when you see that sculpture, it's more than 20. So what is this
Mhm.
imagination? Why this Ravana is very
Mhm.
different? But they have
Mhm.
captured the movement of those 20 arms lifting that mountain, and see
Mhm.
the imagination how a Khmer artist had thought about it. And but what we have in
Mhm.
India, it's pretty much it's sculpted as how it described in a mythological stories or in
Mhm.
epics, right? With
Yeah.
10 head and 20 hands.
Mhm.
But look at the idea,
Mhm.
and Ravana's head is not here, not by the side. It's on top of each other. It is
It's
just
uh,
yeah, it's
it
vertical.
shows the intelligence and the power
And
better.
you can't walk to a door with this 10
Mhm.
heads, right? And I mean, these are
Yeah.
things. There are many
Uh,
sculptures that made me think and wow about
mhm.
the
Mhm.
artistry of this Khmer people. So
Mhm.
that fascinated me. Obviously, the production Angkor and Untold Story was a great eye opener for me to look at Southeast Asia,
Mhm.
because as a dancers we always want to go to Europe and we wanted to be in a fancy theaters and perform.
Mhm.
But I love going towards the east because we have a lot
Mhm.
of commonalities between our art form that we practice among
Mhm.
Southeast Asian countries.
Mhm.
So Natya Shastra
Mhm.
is traveled within the Southeast Asian
Mhm.
country. So today, when I talk to the Balinese dancers, we can come up with common language thanks to Natya Shastra.
Mhm.
And if I go to
Mhm.
Cambodia, I can speak to the Khmer dancer with certain mudra and certain stance, and it's a common vocabulary from Natya Shastra. So that
Mhm.
fascinated me actually to write a book on this.
Okay. Okay. Are you planning to write another book or any other thing that has fascinated you?
And now I'm doing my PhD in dance, so I'm
Mm.
writing about in Singapore. Is like Singapore is one of the first world countries that has grown so
Mhm.
fast rapidly, right? So how in
Mhm.
a first world country like Singapore is a small island, how Bharatanatyam
Mhm.
has helped to grow the nation. So
Cool.
that's my angle.
Okay.
So I'm doing that.
Okay.
And I mean, I have lots of
Mhm.
ideas, but as a dancer, I mean, you have to always find time to do multiple
Mm.
things. So I
You
think
have
I
your
wish I
hands full right now.
yes. So yes, yeah.
You were talking about collaborations with other groups and other from other countries. So, do you have anything specific in your mind? Are you working towards any performance like that where you'll be which will be
Yes,
a
I
collaborative effort between? Mhm.
yeah. So we after the Cambodian collaboration. We also
Mhm.
um, did a collaboration with Javanese dancers from Java, Indonesia. And our recent
Okay.
performance was um, the production was about arisi, the rice, right? How the rice is a
Okay.
staple for many Asian countries, and
Mhm.
how through rice we also have lots of customs that integrated in our culture. So we
Mhm.
explored that with the
Mhm.
Balinese dances, because Bali is one of the larger producer of rice. And
Okay.
so my vision is actually to bring to a stage of these different Southeast Asian classical forms, and to tell the
Mhm.
world, hey, we are brothers and sisters.
One. We are
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah. So, oh, after this IHC performance, are you taking this show to other places? Or is
yeah.
there any
So
other performance that you are working on?
not in immediately in Delhi, but after my performance at Habitat Center, I'm off to
Mm-hmm.
France, and I'll be performing
Mm-hmm.
my another solo thematic production on Lord Muruga Skandarasam. That will be performed
Okay.
in Strasbourg, in France. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also performing
Mm-hmm.
for this very unique, beautiful festival called Sacred Music Festival in France, where they host
Mm-hmm.
multidisciplinary traditional art forms in cathedral setting. So you'll have Sufi
Okay.
music, so you'll have uh,
Mm.
orchestra playing, you have Indian classical dance. So it's culture culmination from different part of the world will be presented in
Mm-hmm.
cathedral. So I will be performing for that festival, and I'm also
Okay.
performing this season. I'm performing in London, also in Bhavan Skandarasam, the same
Mm.
product. And
Okay.
Parama Padam
Okay.
is will be performed in Liverpool for the Indica Festival
Okay.
in November 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah,
Next month.
next month. Yes.
Okay. So that's quite a busy schedule. So you are performing and then you are doing your PhD as well. And you choreograph, you curate, you teach. How do you get time for all that?
I mean, teaching, I have a very less commitment in teaching because currently I'm only teaching 3 students. Um,
Okay.
because I mean, teaching is a biggest commitment, and I don't want to take that biggest commitment. I mean, with this busy schedule, so I teach only 3 students. So
Mm-hmm.
both 3 of them are getting prepared for their
Mm.
graduation performance at Engagement. So I'm
Okay.
working towards them. I mean, it's when I'm in town, I will see
Mm.
them like almost every day, and when I'm away,
Okay.
they have substance to practice. And I mean,
Mm.
we contacted through Zoom, thanks to, yeah, the
Okay.
unprecedented time that we have Zoom also now.
Okay. So if I may ask you, what's a day in your life like?
I, it's I kind of enjoy my routine because now I'm into fitness. I'm focusing on fitness because earlier time when we used to learn Bharatanatyam, it's a hard and fast rule that you have to sit in Aramandi in this half-seated position, and you have to stamp your leg hard. So now, when you are crossing your late 20s, and when you are in your 30s, and some implication that shows up like as a difficulty when you perform. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
also I mean, bringing awareness to a lot of dancers to train your body. I mean, dance doesn't train you. Dance is
Mm.
another form that you are expressing through your body, but for that, the body needs to be trained. So,
Okay.
so I'm bringing that awareness. So, my physical
Mm.
training, my rehearsal, my classes in the evenings, and sometimes when
Mm.
we have shows, when I'm working on a work or production,
Mm.
it's pretty much set schedule, and we
Mm.
work on the schedules, so that makes my time manageable. And whenever I
Mm.
have a good ample time, then I go into my research. I
Mm.
read books. Yeah, I love go for concerts, shows. I
Mhm.
love watching concert and anything that comes to it. It doesn't have to be specifically Bharatanatyam or traditional, but anything that
Okay.
fascinates me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if I ask you to give a message to the upcoming dancers who would be watching this video, what would it be?
I mean, it's a total surrender to the art form. Total surrender in the sense it's. I mean, I can say it very sacredly and also timely. So, in sacred wise, I mean, we have the customs that we follow. I mean, we surrender to the
Mm,
art form. That means full immersion, right? It's not just showing your passion or interest, but then rather you immerse yourself fully, so that you deep. I mean, you dive deeper, so that you'll get a better understanding. It's important that you always, every day, you should fall in love with the art form that you practice with. You should
mm,
never feel bored. And when
mm,
the day you feel bored, and you must tell yourself that I have not explored myself.
mm,
The other
mm,
timely immersion is like how important to look out for your career option, right? And being a
mm,
dancer,
mm,
bring your own individuality, and you can break the barriers as long as you keep your root very true. Yeah.
mm,
So I mean, to stand by as a full-time professional artist, it's what is your special, what who you are, and what is your voice, and you
mm,
must bring the your specific and your um, that special voice out to the audience. And you need right people to support you, and you have to pull in right help or
mm,
right resources to project your voice. I think that is very,
mm,
very important. And it's not just a performing, I mean, it's
mm,
not
mm,
finding a performing opportunities and performing many stages. And that doesn't make a dancer a dancer. But what you really
mm,
bring on the stage, and
mm.
what does that impacted the audience is what
That
makes you
that
are a dancer.
it means the passion you have and the team you can build.
Built. And it has to be true.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Thavaraja, for talking to us. And we
Thank you
wish
very
you
much.
all the best for all your upcoming performances. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Thank you.